Tom was not a hero or a soldier. He was just a young explorer from Earth who loved to search old places for forgotten things. One day, his ship landed on a quiet alien moon called Viren. The air was dry, the sky always gray, and sharp rocks covered the land. Most people ignored this moon, but Tom believed something was hidden there, something valuable or ancient. He carried a small scanner and walked for hours through broken ground and silent valleys. At last, he found something strange, half buried. In the dirt was a round stone covered in symbols. The scanner beeped and showed old energy inside it. Tom touched the stone, and the earth around it shook a little. A hole opened near its base. Carefully, Tom climbed down into the hole. It was dark, but his suit light helped him see. He stepped into a wide room with walls made of black glass and stone. In the middle of the room was a raised platform. Lying on that platform was a sword. The sword looked old, but it had no dust. Its blade was made of a strange glowing metal, and its handle was wrapped in silver cloth. Tom walked closer, curious. He reached out and grabbed the sword. As soon as his hand touched the handle, the blade lit up with a strong white-blue light. The sword became warm and hummed with power. The light covered Tom's hand and arm. Tom stepped back in shock, but the sword stayed in his hand. He tried to put it down, but his fingers could not let go. The sword felt alive. Before he could think more, a loud sound came from above. He heard footsteps and shouting. Then a group of armored figures dropped into the room from the roof. They wore silver suits and long capes. Their faces were sharp, with deep eyes and glowing marks on their skin. They were not human. Tom raised his hands, still holding the sword. One of the aliens pointed at the weapon and shouted in a deep voice. Another one dropped to one knee and looked at Tom, like he was someone important. The others began to speak, fast in their own language. A girl stepped forward. Her eyes were dark and full of fire. She looked younger than the others, but held herself with pride. She wore a dark suit with silver lines and carried a small curved blade. Her long hair was tied back, and her face was cold. She looked at Tom, then at the sword. "You," she said. In broken English, "You touched his sword." Tom blinked. "What? Whose sword?" The girl pointed to the glowing weapon. "This belonged to my father. He was a great war chief. He died with honor. No one has touched the sword since his death. Not even me. I didn't know," Tom said. "I didn't mean to cause trouble. I can give it back." She stepped closer. "You cannot. The sword chose you. It answered your hand. It lives again." "That means something." Tom frowned. "It's just an old weapon. I found it under a rock." The girl's eyes grew colder. "It is not just a weapon. It is our sacred blade. Whoever touches it becomes part of the blood bond. You have made a claim." "What claim?" The aliens round them bowed their heads. One of them spoke. This time using a translator. "Human, you have taken the sword of Morin. According to the law of our people, you have claimed the duty of the fallen warrior. You now carry his name, his honor, and his bond." Tom shook his head. "I didn't agree to any of this." The girl stepped in front of him. "You may not agree, but the sword does. And the sword speaks louder than words. Now, by custom, you must stand by me as my bonded one." Tom's heart skipped. "What does that mean?" The girl's face grew tense. "You must become my husband. That is our law." He froze. "Wait, you're saying I touched a sword, and now I have to marry?" "It is not about choice," she said. "It is about respect. My father's sword does not wake for cowards or liars. If it woke for you, then you must be strong in some way." Tom looked down at the blade. It still glowed in his grip. He had tried to drop it, but his hand stayed closed around it. The sword felt warm, almost like it was part of him now. He could not explain it. "I don't want to cause problems," he said. "I didn't come here for marriage. I was just exploring." The girl nodded. "You speak truth. But the bond is made. Come with us. The elders will decide what comes next." Tom followed the group outside. The alien sky was darker now. Their ship waited near the edge of the valley. Tom stepped inside, still holding the sword. The girl sat across from him. She didn't speak, but her eyes never left him. He asked quietly, "What's your name?" She answered, "Lena." "I'm Tom," he said. "I know," she replied. "The sword told me." Tom leaned back as the ship flew toward the distant mountain. He had come to find forgotten tech. Now he was part of a law, a sword, and a bond. He didn't understand, and beside him sat the daughter of a dead warrior, watching his every move. The ship flew across sharp hills and deep cracks in the ground. The sky over the alien moon was now full of purple clouds. Tom sat near the window, still holding the glowing sword. Across from him, Lena sat without speaking. Her face was calm, but her eyes showed storm. Tom wanted to ask questions, but he stayed quiet. He could feel that this world worked on old rules. Maybe it was better to wait and watch. After an hour, the ship reached a high mountain with a wide stone gate at the base. The city inside the mountain was built with silver walls and shining lights. People wearing long robes and armor stood to greet them. As Tom stepped out of the ship, whispers spread in the crowd. All eyes were on the sword in his hand. Some looked shocked. Others looked angry. A few dropped to one knee and bowed their heads. Tom felt nervous, but he walked with the guards beside him. Lena followed behind him. They entered a large hall full of giant pillars. At the end of the hall sat 3 old alien elders. Their robes were thick with gold and black symbols. Each one held a crystal staff. Their faces were calm, but their eyes were sharp. One elder, the tallest one, stood and spoke with a deep voice. "You are the human who touched the sword of Morin." Tom nodded. "Yes, I found it under stone ruins." "I didn't know it was important," the elder replied. "The sword is not lit for anyone since Morin died. Many have tried. All failed. Until now." Tom raised the sword. "I didn't try. I just grabbed it. It wouldn't let go after that." The other elder spoke. "The sword chooses. It does not wait for weak hearts or false hands. You have touched it. That makes you part of the bond." Tom looked around. "Everyone keeps saying that. What is this bond?" The elder looked at Lena. The sword was tied to Morin, a great warrior and father of Lena. When he died, the sword fell silent. By our law, any soul who wakes the blade takes the place of the fallen. He becomes protector of the name, of the house, and of the daughter. Tom's heart beat faster. "So you're saying I must protect Lena now?" The elder nodded. "And more. You must stand beside her in name and law. That means you must accept marriage by bond." Tom blinked. "Wait, you mean I have to marry Lena just because I touched this sword?" The room grew silent. Everyone waited. Lena stepped forward. "That is the rule. It is our way. But there is a path to walk first. 3 trials. If you pass them, the bond is complete. If you fail, the sword will sleep again, and you must leave our world." Tom looked at the sword, still glowing. Then he looked at Lena. "And if I pass?" "What then? You marry someone you didn't choose." Lena's voice was firm. "I follow the law. That is my duty, even if I don't agree with it." Tom didn't like the sound of that. "You don't want this." Lena's eyes flashed. "You are a stranger, from a planet far away. Why should I trust you with my future? My father's sword does not belong in your hand." Tom lowered his eyes. "I didn't ask for this, but I won't run from it either." The elder lifted his staff. "Then the trials shall begin. At first light tomorrow, you will face the path of stone. You must climb the mountain where Morin fell in battle. You will carry the sword and reach the fire stone at the top only. Then will you be ready for the second trial?" Tom gave a small nod. "All right, I'll do it." 2 guards stepped forward and led him to a room inside the mountain. It was simple, with stone walls and a bed made of soft metal. Tom sat down and looked at the sword in his hand. The glow was dimmer now, almost like it was resting. Later that night, a quiet knock came at the door. It opened, and a small boy entered. He had big eyes and short hair. He smiled kindly and bowed. "My name is Pick," he said. "I will help you. I know the way to the fire stone." Tom smiled. "Thanks. I need all the help I can get." Pick showed him a map on a glowing stone. "This is the path. It is full of wind and sharp rocks. You must not fall. If you do, the bond breaks." Tom studied the map. "Why are you helping me?" Pick answered. because the sword chose you. That means something, and maybe it is time for change. The next morning, the sun rose behind purple clouds. Tom stood at the base of the great mountain. A crowd had gathered to watch. Lena stood nearby, arms crossed. She said nothing. Tom looked up at the tall climb ahead. Then he took a breath and began to move. Each step was hard. The rocks were sharp. Cold winds hit his face and chest. He slipped once, but held tight. His arms hurt. His legs shook. Still, he climbed. Pick waited below, watching with hope. Lena stayed silent. By sunset, Tom reached the top. There, on a flat stone, stood a red crystal. Tom placed the sword beside it. The sword glowed again, brighter than ever. From the valley below, people cheered. Tom raised his hand. He had passed the first trial, but his heart knew this was only the beginning. Tom stood at the top of the mountain, breathing hard. His hands were scraped, his legs felt heavy, and the wind pushed against his back. But he did not fall. The red crystal next to the sword glowed brighter than before. That meant the first trial was complete. Down in the valley, the people cheered. Tom looked down and saw Pick jumping with joy. Lena stood with her arms folded. She did not smile, but she nodded once. Guards came up the path to guide Tom back. They gave him water and helped him walk down the mountain. His feet hurt, and every step was painful, but he did not complain. That night, in his stone room, Tom sat on the floor with Pick. The boy cleaned his wounds and wrapped them with soft cloth. "You did well," Pick said. "No outsider has ever climbed the fire mountain." Tom smiled weakly. "I almost gave up halfway, but something inside me kept going." Pick looked at the sword. "It gives strength to those it accepts." Later, Tom heard a soft knock. Lena entered the room, quiet as wind. She stood for a moment, then spoke. "The elders have seen your climb. You passed the first trial. The second will begin at sunrise." Tom stood. "What is the second trial?" "The trial of fire," Lena said. "You must walk through the fire fields of Voran. The heat there melts stone. Only those with true purpose survive it." Tom looked at her. "And if I fail, then you leave." She said, "The bond breaks. The sword sleeps again." Tom nodded. "Do you want me to fail?" Lena paused. Her face showed no anger this time, only thought. "I don't know. You are strong, but you are not one of us. Still, you keep going when others would stop." She turned to leave but stopped at the door. "Be ready." The next morning, Tom stood before the fire fields. They were wide and flat, covered in glowing ground cracks. Red light rose from between the rocks. Smoke moved across the air. The heat was strong, even from far away. 2 guards stood on each side. An elder spoke to the crowd. "The trial of fire burns away lies. Only truth and courage can pass. The sword must guide him." Tom stepped forward. He carried the sword on his back. The metal was warm already. His suit had thin heat protection, but not enough for this kind of place. He walked into the field. At first, it was only hot. Then the real heat hit him. His skin burned under his clothes. His mouth became dry. Each step felt heavier than the last. He remembered Lena's words. "Only those with purpose survive." He looked at the sword. Its glow was faint but steady. He gripped the handle. A loud cracking sound came from ahead. A sharp burst of fire shot from the ground. Tom jumped to the side. Another flame burst near his leg. He rolled and crawled to a safe spot. His heart pounded. His eyes burned. But he kept moving. He remembered Earth. He remembered the training he did for space travel. He remembered the long nights alone, searching old places. He had never quit before, and he would not quit now. Step by step, he made his way across the field. His suit was smoking. His hands were shaking. The sword began to shine brighter with each step. Finally, after what felt like forever, he saw the end of the fire field. A tall black stone stood there, with a mark on it. Tom reached it, placed his hand on the stone, and dropped to his knees. Behind him, the sword glowed bright and sent a wave of light through the field. Back at the edge, the crowd gasped. Lena stepped forward. Her eyes locked on the light. She did not speak, but her hand touched the edge of her blade. When Tom returned, the elders met him in the great hall. The lead elder raised his staff. "You have passed the second trial. The sword grows stronger in your hand." Tom looked at Lena. "One more trial left?" She nodded. "The trial of blood." Tom wiped sweat from his forehead. "What does that mean?" "You must fight," she said. "You will face a chosen warrior, one trained in our style. If you lose, the bond ends." Tom took a deep breath. "Then I better learn how you fight." Lena studied him. "If you want help, meet me in the training ground tonight. I will show you our way." Tom was surprised. "You will train me?" She looked away. "You passed the trials I thought you would fail. Maybe I was wrong about you. But the trial of blood is not like the others. If you go in weak, you won't leave alive." That night, under the silver moons, Tom stood in the training yard. Lena waited with 2 wooden swords. She tossed one to him. "Show me what you know," she said. Tom held the sword awkwardly. Lena moved fast, struck his side, and made him stumble. "Too slow," she said. "For ours." She trained him. She showed how to block, strike, and move with balance. Tom learned quickly. He did not speak much. He listened, watched, and followed Dot. By midnight. His arms were sore, and sweat covered his face. Lena stood across from him. "You learn faster than I thought." Tom smiled. "You teach well." She turned away. "Tomorrow is the final test. If you win, the bond becomes true. If you lose, you return to Earth." Tom looked at her. "And what do you want?" Lena paused. "I want the sword to choose someone who respects it, someone who understands what it means." Tom nodded. "Then I will do my best." He walked back to his room, holding the sword close. The light from the blade was calm. The final trial waited. Morning came with quiet skies. The sun rose slowly behind the rocky hills of the alien moon. Tom stood alone near the edge of the training ground. His armor was light, his hands wrapped for battle, and the sword of Morn rested on his back. The blade no longer glowed wildly. It gave off a soft and steady light, as if ready for what was coming. Across the field, a crowd gathered near the stone walls. Elders sat in high chairs. Guards stood in lines. People from the city filled the edges of the ground. All eyes watched in silence. Lena stood with her arms crossed. She wore black armor and had her curved blade hanging at her side. Her face looked calm, but her eyes showed worry. The lead elder rose and spoke with a deep voice. "The trial of blood begins now. The final test. The sword has chosen, but the body must still prove its worth. The challenger may fight, but only victory brings the bond." Tom stepped forward. "Who will I face?" A large figure walked from the shadows. His armor was thick, painted with red lines. His face had scars, and his eyes burned with pride. His name was Garn, the champion of the city. Garn was no friend of Lena. He had once asked for her hand in bonding, but her father had refused. Now he had a chance to take what was once denied. If Garn won, the sword would sleep, and the bond would break. Tom looked at the giant warrior and felt his chest tighten. He remembered Lina's training. He remembered the heat of the fire field and the pain of the mountain climb. He had come this far. He would not stop now. The elder raised his staff. "Begin." Garn charged without warning. His blade swung fast, sharp, and full of power. Tom rolled to the side and blocked with his sword. The strike shook his arm. Garn came again, swinging left and then right. Tom moved back, his feet slipping on the stone ground. The crowd shouted. Dust flew into the air. Tom knew he could not match Garn's strength. He needed speed, skill, and focus. He remembered Lina's words. "Wait for the opening. Don't chase the fight. Let the fight come to you." Garn tried to knock Tom off his feet, but Tom ducked and struck low. The blade hit Garn's leg armor. It made a small dent, but it showed that Tom could hurt him. Garn growled, "You are not one of us. You do not deserve that sword." Tom kept his guard high. The sword disagrees. Garn rushed again. Tom stepped aside and struck his side. The sword lit up for a second. Garn growled louder and swung harder. Tom blocked one hit, then another. But the third one broke his stance. He fell to one knee. Garn raised his sword to end it. Lena stepped forward from the crowd, her voice clear. "Get up." Tom heard her. He closed his eyes for a moment, then rolled away before the strike landed. He stood, breathing hard. Blood ran from his arm, but he held the sword tight. He stepped forward and began to move in circles. He made Garn chase him, using small cuts and fast moves. Garn's anger grew. His strikes became wild. His footwork turned heavy. Tom waited. He saw it the mistake. Garn raised his blade to high. Tom stepped in fast and struck under his arm. The blade cut deep. Garn shouted and stumbled back. Tom didn't stop. He swung again, hitting Garn's shoulder. The sword flashed brighter with each strike. The crowd rose to their feet. Garn dropped to one knee. His blade fell from his hand. Blood dripped from his side. The elder stood and raised his staff. "Enough. The trial is over." Tom backed away, breathing hard. His body hurt, but his spirit was strong. The sword glowed bright in his hand. Garn looked up, his eyes full of hate, but he said nothing. Guards helped him away. Lena walked forward. She looked at Tom for a long time. "You won." Tom wiped sweat from his forehead. "Barely." She stepped closer. "You fought with heart, not just skill. You faced death, but didn't run." Tom smiled a little. "I didn't come here to fight for a bond, but I couldn't walk away either." The elders came down from their seats. The lead elder spoke. "Again, the trials are complete. The sword has chosen. The warrior has proved his right. The bond is now yours." The crowd clapped. Some cheered. Others remained quiet. Lena turned to the elder. "So the law is clear?" The elder nodded. "Yes, you are now his bondmate. The union shall be honored in the eyes of our people and the sword." Tom looked at Lena. "Is this what you want?" Lena looked back. Her voice was softer now. "I wanted to fight for my father's honor. You did that without knowing him. You respected his name and his blade. That means something." She stepped closer. "This bond may have started by custom, but I do not reject it." Tom nodded. "Then let it be real." The elder raised his hands. "The warrior from Earth and the daughter of Morin are now joined. By trial, by sword, and by bond." The sword in Tom's hand glowed one last time, then became calm. It had found its new master. The people bowed. A new chapter had begun. The sun rose over the mountain city. Its soft light fell on the stone roofs and tall towers. Inside the Hall of Blades, silence filled the air. The trial of blood was over. Tom had won. The sword had accepted him, and the law had spoken. But the bond was not yet complete. Custom said the daughter must speak her choice before the final step. Even after all three trials, she had the right to accept or reject the bond. It was a rule older than any elder alive. Tom stood in the center of the hall. His arm was wrapped in bandages. His body was tired, but he stood tall. The sword rested in its case beside him. The glow was gone now. It no longer needed to prove anything. Lena walked him through the high doors. She wore a dark robe with silver lines, the sign of her house. Her face was calm, but her eyes held a storm of thoughts. People filled the hall. Elders, guards, workers, children, all waited for her words. The lead elder stood and raised his staff. "By law, the trials are complete. The sword has chosen. The warrior has proved his strength and his heart. Now, Lena, daughter of Morin, must speak." The hall grew quiet. Lena stepped forward. She looked at Tom. Her voice was clear and strong. "I was born to the house of Morin. My father died with honor, and his sword slept with him. I swore never to let anyone steal his name or his legacy." She paused. "When the human touched the sword, I was angry. I believed no outsider had the right. I wanted him to fail. I trained him only to make the fight fair, not to help him win." She turned to the crowd. But he did not quit. He climbed the fire mountain. He walked through the burning fields. He faced Garn and won with skill and heart. She looked back at Tom. He did not take the sword for power. He carried it with respect. He fought for honor, not for glory. He stood when others would fall. The elder asked, "Do you now accept the bond?" Lena was silent for a moment. Then she stepped closer to Tom. "I accept it," she said. "Not because the sword demands it, Not because the law says so. I choose it by my own will." The hall filled with loud cheers. People clapped, shouted, and raised their hands. Tom felt something inside him shift. He smiled. Not because he won, but because her choice was real. She had seen him for who he truly was. The elder lowered his staff. "Then let the bond be sealed." Two guards brought forward a small table. On it were two rings made from the metal of the fallen sword of Morn. Each had a symbol carved into it, the mark of fire and wind. Tom and Lena took the rings and placed them on each other's fingers. The sword beside them glowed once more, then faded into stillness. It was done later. A great feast was held in the city square. Music filled the air. Lights hung from the walls. Food was shared across tables. People danced and sang. They called Tom by a new name, Starblade, the human who passed the trials and claimed the bond by fire and blood. Tom sat with Pick and some of the guards. They laughed and told stories of his climb and his fight. Lena sat beside him. She listened quietly, then joined the talk. Her voice was softer than before. She asked Tom about Earth, about his people, and how he had lived before coming here. Tom told her about blue skies, trees with green leaves, rivers that sang like wind, and the tall cities of humans. She listened with wide eyes. Her world had never seen those things. "You left all that behind?" she asked. "I came to find old things," Tom said. "I never thought I would find a bond, a fight, and a sword that won't let go." She smiled for the first time in days. "Maybe the sword brought you here for more than treasure." Tom looked at her. "Maybe it brought me to you." Later that night, the two walked through the quiet paths of the city. The stars above them blinked like tiny lights. The moons of the alien world floated gently in the sky. Lena stopped and looked at the stars. "My father once told me," she said, "that the sword knows the truth of the heart. It chooses not the strongest arm, but the cleanest soul." Tom stood beside her. "I hope he would have accepted me." She nodded. "I think he would have." He respected those who fought with honor. They walked on in silence. The next morning, the bond was marked in the records of the city. Tom was now part of the House of Morin. Lena stood beside him as his equal, not as someone forced by custom, but someone who made a choice from that day on. The city saw a change. The old rules still lived, but new voices began to rise. The story of the human who passed the trials and earned the bond became legend. And at the center of that story were two people, a daughter of a warrior and a stranger from the stars, joined not by law alone, but by heart and respect. The city of Morn was alive with joy after the bond ceremony. People sang in the streets. Bright lanterns hung from every building. The story of Tom and Lena was on every tongue. They called Tom Starblade, the human who had earned the honor of the sword. But peace is often quiet before a storm. One night, while the moons floated low in the sky, a shadow moved beyond the city walls. In the dark valley, figures gathered. Their armor was black and red. Their eyes burned with anger and hate. The leader of the group was a tall, heavy warrior named Droll. His face was scarred, and his voice was rough like stone. "Lena has taken what belongs to us," Droll said. "Her father's sword, her honor, and now a stranger wears it. We will take it back." The others cheered. They had waited for this moment a long time. They were the clan that had fought Lena's father in battle. They hated the House of Morin and wanted revenge. The next day, news came to the city. Scouts saw the enemy clan moving closer with weapons and war machines. The people grew quiet and fearful. The elders called a meeting. Lena and Tom stood at the center. The lead elder spoke. "Our enemy returns. They seek to take the sword and destroy the bond. We must prepare." Tom looked at Lena. "I will fight with you." Lena nodded. "We stand together. The sword chose you, and I choose you. Together." They began to train the city guards. Tom shared stories of Earth's battles and tactics. He taught the soldiers how to work as a team, to watch each other's backs, and to use surprise. Lena led the warriors in sword fighting and quick moves. The people listened and learned. Fear turned into hope. Days passed. The enemy grew closer. One night, Drill's army reached the city gates. They were many, and their machines roared with power. The city guards stood ready. Tom and Lena stood side by side on the wall. Tom held the sword. It glowed softly. Lena's blade shone in the moonlight. The battle began with a loud roar. Drill's forces charged. The city defenders fired beams and threw stones. The ground shook with explosions. Tom moved quickly. Using the sword to cut through machines and warriors alike, Lena fought fiercely beside him, her blade swift and deadly. Drill saw them and charged toward the two. His heavy armor made him strong. But slow. Tom met him first. Their blades clashed with sparks. Drill swung hard. But Tom blocked and pushed him back. Lena joined, striking Drill's side. The enemy leader roared and fought harder. The battle raged across the walls and streets. People shouted and ran, but the defenders held strong. Tom and Lena fought as one. The sword in Tom's hand glowed brighter every time they struck together. It was as if the weapon knew they were united. After a long fight, Drill stumbled. Tom took the chance and knocked the enemy leader to the ground. Drill looked up, his eyes full of hate. "This is not over," he said. "I will return." Lena stood over him. "Not while we live." Drill was taken away by guards. The city breathed again. The people cheered for Tom and Lena. They were not just bondmates now. They were heroes. The battle had shown the strength of their bond. The Sword of Morn had chosen well. That night, Tom and Lena stood on the city wall, looking at the stars. "Do you think this war will end?" Tom asked. Lena looked at the dark sky. "Wars never truly end. But together, we can protect what we love." Tom smiled. "Then I am ready for whatever comes." Lena put her hand on his arm. "We will face it as one." The Sword of Morn rested quietly at Tom's side. It was no longer just a weapon. It was a symbol of hope, courage, and a bond that crossed worlds. And so, under the light of distant stars, two souls, one human, one alien, stood united, ready to face the future. The battle was over. The city of Morn stood strong and proud. The enemies had fled, and peace returned, but the world had changed. Tom and Lena were no longer strangers or just bondmates by law. They had become partners in every way. The morning sun shone soft light on the city. Tom and Lena walked through the streets together. People stopped and smiled. Children waved and called Tom Starblade. The air was filled with hope. Lena looked at Tom and said, "You changed our world. You showed us new ways to fight, to live, and to trust." Tom smiled. "And you taught me honor, courage, and the meaning of family." The Sword of Morn hung at Tom's side. It was calm now, as if resting after a long journey. The people called it a symbol not just of battle but of unity. The elders gathered in the great hall. They spoke of a new future where humans and the people of Morn could share knowledge, culture, and strength. The bond of Tom and Lena was the start of this new path. Tom was invited to join the council. He listened carefully to the elders and shared stories of Earth. They talked about space, science, and peace. Lena stood beside him, proud and strong. She was no longer just a warrior's daughter, but a leader who walked beside the human, who had earned her respect. One evening, Tom and Lena sat by the city wall, looking at the stars. The moons floated gently above them, casting silver light. On the land. Tom asked, "Do you think our people will accept this new way?" Lena looked at him. "Change is hard, but your courage opened the door. Now it is our choice to walk through it." Tom reached for her hand. She took it without hesitation. They talked late into the night about hopes and dreams, about a future where no one was forced by law, but where bonds were made by trust and heart. Months passed. Tom helped build schools where humans and Morn children learned side by side. Lena trained warriors who were not afraid to ask questions or to listen. The Sword of Morn was kept safe in the Great Hall. It no longer glowed with power, but rested as a reminder of the past and the future. One day, as Tom prepared to leave the city on a journey to Earth, Lena stopped him. "Where will you go?" she asked. "To bring stories of this world back home." He said, "And to learn more for when I return." Lena smiled. "The bond we share is not a chain. It is a bridge. Tom nodded. Then no matter where I go, I carry you with me. They stood close and shared a quiet moment under the wide sky. Tom boarded his ship, the sword by his side. The engines roared as the ship lifted off. Lena watched until the ship was only a small light in the stars. But their bond was strong. It was more than law or custom. It was a promise of a new path for two worlds. And so, the legend of the human who touched the dead warrior's sword became a story of hope, unity, and courage across the stars.